They must add debt to GDP. Talking about debt, and we couldn't keep Petrotrin running because of the debt. Let me give you the numbers, Madam Speaker, because the member wouldn't give it to you. Again, just talking in general statements. They doubled our country's debt. Double it, Madam Speaker. When we left government in 2015, debt was $75.4 billion. 2015, we demitted office, $75.4 billion. When they demitted office, debt doubled to $144.8 billion. Want to come to talk to us about debt to GDP ratio? They worried about debt. Debt to GDP, Minister mentioned, the highest ever. Why? Because of you, because of your government. Here are the numbers. Debt to GDP moved from 42.9% in March 2025 to in 2015 when we debated, 42.9 when we demitted office. That moved to 82.8% when they demitted office. So don't talk to me about debt. All that debt on the neck, it's a burden on the necks of the citizens came from your government. Came from your government, and not just debt. Again, I say, King Liar, you want to tell us that Petrotrin was running? Don't run away now. Oh.
If you can't really heat, you need water. Run.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Yeah. They want to be in the kitchen, but they can't take the heat. They can't take the heat. The same way they ran out in last April cold snap election. We'll talk to you again. Again, King Liar. King Liar. The member quoted himself to himself. He said, I am going to read one op-ed I did for myself. You know what that means? It's himself to himself. And is using that now to tell us about the why they shut down Petrotrin, why they had to do it, and says this is what he tells us. Again, King Liar. He quotes himself.
48.4. To set the record straight, it shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting language. I just want to know if it is okay now to say King Liar, because I will have a lot to say about the member for Siparia in similar language. 48.4.
The continued SOE in Trinidad and Tobago will not work in the long run on crime. If the SOE only targets the sensational crime, like murders, then it isn't genuinely focused on crime. It's only focused on the media-grabbing crime and fear of crime that makes our government look bad. This crime is just a symptom of the far more destructive white-collar crime. That is more the choice of crime for the wealthy and powerful. This is the giving of government contracts to family or to get kickbacks, the tax evasion, money laundering, and just plain old stealing of public funds. This is the crime that leads to a bigger disparity between the rich and the poor. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, while the middle class shrinks. And it's this that can increase the likelihood of the violent crime we're seeing in Trinidad. Believe it or not, violent offending isn't specific to race. It is more associated with the socioeconomics. Whichever group has the least to lose, and can't identify a legitimate means to garner wealth, are usually more likely to commit these crimes. It is these people that the SOE targets, but they are just the result of the problem. You can police them all you want, an infinite SOE, but if you don't have the political will to go after the source, then it's all a charade, a game to make it look like a government is tough on crime. You will absolutely get temporary and illustrative improvement in your crime stats, but the cancer will grow back because you haven't removed the source. I'm by no means protecting the violent bandits running around, because regardless of circumstance, they made it choice to commit the crime. All governments are aware of what white-collar crime does to a nation. If years ago the corruption was weeded out, there would probably be another 100,000 HTC houses available. The public sector would have gotten the pay increase they deserve. Public health care would be more efficient, food programs would be more robust, roads would be drivable, traffic fines wouldn't be predatory, feminine hygiene products would be affordable, and our most vulnerable in society would be protected. Because it is billions upon billions we lose every year to the biggest murderers, the white-collar criminal. The public funds utilized properly would help bridge the gap between rich and poor, and this generally reduces the likelihood of violent offenses, especially those committed for financial gain. So our government needs to look at itself first. This goes for the last government and the current. I mean, the current still has time because I can't say for sure what's their crime plan. But if you don't see a government in their 5-year term successfully prosecute people from 5 specific categories, then they aren't actually trying to reduce crime. They're trying to get rich and voted back in. Category 1, big businessmen and women. Category 2, politicians. 3, judges and magistrates. 4, high-ranking officers in the protective services, police, regiment, prisons, etc. 5, other upper management public servants or government board members. 5, 5, 5. If you don't see people from those 5 categories getting sentences of over 5 years in a government 5-year term, then accept it's all a production. Of course, government voices will try to say separation of government from the courts, but we know it is simply a matter of political will. And SOE gets the low-hanging fruit instead of going after the roots. There's still time, however, for this current administration to show us they have the will, because when Basio Pandey wanted to show us his administration was willing, it wasn't just the fruit that was hanging. They took the fight all the way. And when everyone thought it was impossible to have executions, they got it done 10 times. I scripted this video weeks ago. The main focus was the Joshua Samaru shooting. This SOE was only a small piece of the much bigger picture, but the Samaru incident has been hammered so excessively, I don't think there's much more for me to add, other than we shouldn't be too shocked if no one serves any substantial jail time for Samaru's death. Miss Seeley being prosecuted isn't necessarily to find her guilty, but more to keep the other parties and the institution they represent looking innocent, regardless of if Miss Seeley is guilty or the officers are guilty. It is what it is.
Shalom, Israel. Watch this.
Let me just use this opportunity to indicate to colleagues here that I have every intention of protecting my reputation. It is a matter that somewhere or the other can affect all of us as members in this house. And so my team of lawyers will bring to the fore, to the public, that I am innocent.
Them say when somebody hit the jackpot, them now go tell you, you know, but you definitely are going to see signs. And we definitely don't see the signs with this corrupt politician right here. And in Jamaica, them say if it not go so, it go near so. But we know so when it come to them politicians, yeah, you would even hear about it if them never have overwhelming evidence, say go so. Cause we all know how hard it is to catch them politicians here red-handed because them a keep them one another secret. And can you imagine when corrupt politician friends them currently are do while we are speak now?
It is a matter that somewhere or the other can affect all of us as members in this house.
We need to stop vote. This now gonna away. You understand? This voting thing and now gone nowhere. Now we really get an idea of what took place with that $1.4 billion that was, you know what I mean, sent by our families to relieve our brothers and sisters here in Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. And speaking of Hurricane Melissa, watch this.
Come give me food. They are hungry for a week. We can't see nobody come to no food. No matter. That is the water we don't have to be. No drinking water, no matter. The river water, a bump up with skin. The baby gonna get pee and rash on this.
Sure.
We don't force somebody quick. When you see a crowd that come out, you show it no, we don't get none at all. No care for this come at all. Nothing at all. Can't tell us nothing at all. I'm not force somebody come here. I think people them are rush out, so you must know. Nothing at all, man. Till we have said nobody no member up here from. The people them hungry, can't get no feeding. So look at what we have, can't full them belly, can't get no feeding up here. We don't have no hose, no zinc, rain fall today. The hose then wet up back, we have no zinc,
Same thing on now.
nothing at all no there, man.
So y'all tell me, say, you still have people without roof over them head to this day. After a hurricane that passed more than 8 months ago. People still now have food in them belly, don't know how them are going to survive throughout the day. I have them corrupt politicians here smiling our face. Yo, we need to wake up, man. You understand? We need to wake up and realize that voting has never helped us here in Jamaica. It has never helped black people. At time for we put on this politics thing and find our own way. Because these politicians that you have entrusted your future, your survival, you know what I mean, and your well-being, and them are just common thief, common scammers, you understand, or crook them. Now it's time to get back to your true nationality as God's chosen people, the children of Israel, because knowing who you are as a people would help you select better leaders. And with that, get inside the ISUPK under commanding General Yohana. Shalom.
Have you heard about the crime rate in Trinidad? It's at a high alarming rate right now, and it all stems from our people lacking something in their lives. Come, let me show you the Bible. This is a book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. So the Bible says for us not to hate our brother in our heart. Your heart is your mind when you read the Bible, Mark 7:21. God said, don't hate your brother. If we apply that as a people, there would be no murder. There would be no crime amongst our communities. Now let's see how God feels about the crime situation amongst our people. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord had a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. The Lord is saying he has a controversy, a problem with the Israelites, because there is no truth nor mercy. Definitely we have no mercy amongst each other as a people for us to kill our brother for something as simple as our shoes, nor mercy nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood toucheth blood. The Lord has a serious problem with the crime situation in Trinidad. God gave us his laws. Exodus chapter 20 says, thou shalt not kill. We must have that compassion and love for each other and stop the violence in Trinidad and Tobago. Stop the killing amongst our communities.
Trinidad. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Many among us have the ability to help those who are truly in need, yet we pass by on the other side. Able-bodied men and women choose to beg rather than work, then turn around and call our leaders lazy. On social media, we use our phones and accounts to shame and embarrass others, feeling powerful because we have a platform. We abuse the little authority we possess. What would happen if that same spirit were given greater power? The scripture says in Proverbs chapter 30, verses 21 to 23, "Under 3 things the earth trembles. Under 4 it cannot bear up. A slave when he becomes king, and a fool when he is filled with food. An unloved woman when she gets a husband, and a maidservant when she displaces her mistress." Trinidad and Tobago, the Lord is calling us to repentance. The same God who sees the corruption in high places also sees the corruption in ordinary hearts. He is not impressed by our complaints about others while we continue in the same sins. Therefore, the word of the Lord to this nation is clear. As it is written in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." While those previous verses were written to ancient Israel, they apply to all nations throughout all of time. Let every citizen, from the highest office to the humblest home, humble themselves before God. Let us stop pointing fingers and begin examining our own ways. Let us return to honesty, integrity, and compassion. Let us do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. The time for hypocrisy is over. The time for repentance has come. May the Lord have mercy on Trinidad and Tobago, because our judgment is closer than you think.
If you overstay in TNT, can you legally or lawfully be detained? Simple answer to that question, yes. Under our immigration laws here in Trinidad and Tobago, once your permit to stay in the country expires, you are considered to be here unlawfully. And that simply means that an immigration officer has the legal rights to detain you and start the process of having you removed from the country. Now, overstaying by itself isn't always treated like a criminal charge in the same way as theft or assault. It's just 2 examples. But it still puts you at risk of detention and deportation. So if your visa or permit expired for years or months and you failed to regularize your status, then you're putting yourself in problems. You're setting yourself up because you can be picked up during simple things like a check or reporting. And when I say check, let's say for example, you decide to go to Tobago on the boat. You could get picked up there and then it's problems. Or even in a roadblock, a stop and search, problems. But the key issue is not just overstaying, it's what you do next. And just as everything else I usually post, this is just general information, not legal advice.
Good day, my people. I am Marvin Frederick. For years, political parties have relied on the race card and followed closely by blame game. Nothing continues. Everything continues and nothing changes. As we look recently, we saw a young minister use language that may not have been explicitly centered on ethnicity. However, the phrase such as, "they don't like us, we don't like them," was enough to fuel racial tension, deepening division within our society. This behavior is unacceptable. I'm not here to lecture anyone about what has happened in the past, but I'm here to explain why politicians should avoid these tactics altogether. Leadership should unite people, not divide them. Trinidad and Tobago strongest when people stand together. We cannot continue to allow fear, division, and identity politics to shape our nation's conversations. The future of Trinidad and Tobago depends on the leaders who rise above those tactics, focus on solution that benefits all citizens, regardless of race, religion, and background. Racism cannot survive Trinidad and Tobago because of the country's rich history of cultural diversity, resilience, and unity. The nation is built on a foundation of multiple ethnicities: Indo-Trinidadian, Afro-Trinidadians, Chinese, Syrians, and others who have coexisted and contributed to a vibrant, multicultural society. Our collective consciousness emphasizes on harmony, respect, and sure identity, making racial division difficult to sustain. However, it is fundamentally wrong for any political party or politician to promote racism. When this is done, it undermines the principle of equality, justice, and human dignity that are essential for a fair and cohesive society. Promoting racism fosters division, hatred, and discrimination, which can lead to social unrest, violence, and the marginalization of entire communities. Politicians who hold positions of influence and responsibility should serve to unify and uplift all citizens, regardless of their race or background. By promoting racism, they betray the trust placed in them by the people and threaten the stability and progress of our nation. Upholding morals and value is crucial for building a just, peaceful, and prosperous society for everyone. Remember, everyone, Trinidad and Tobago commitment to culturalism and its history is to overcome division and ensure that racism cannot thrive here. My question is, if your race has faced historical oppression and discrimination, how can you embrace unity and understand helping break the cycle and build?
Imagine losing an entire month of your life every year sitting in traffic. That's exactly what's happening in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm Kalila from Money Media, giving you money news from the Caribbean. According to research presented by the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, the average commuter in Trinidad spends 793 hours in traffic annually. That's 33 full days every year at an estimated economic cost of more than 1% of GDP. To put that in dollar terms, that's more than 360 million US dollars or 2.5 billion TT dollars lost every year simply because people can't move around efficiently. Now experts are warning that traffic congestion has become one of the biggest hidden drags on economic growth across the Caribbean. At a recent CDB conference, President Daniel Best argued that traffic is no longer just a transportation problem.
Congestion is a productivity issue, a public health issue, a climate issue, a competitiveness issue, and at its core, it is a development issue.
Transport engineer Dr. Ray Furlong says Caribbean governments have spent decades focusing on roads and cars while neglecting public transportation and broader mobility planning. The result has been more people depending on private vehicles, which makes congestion even worse.
traffic congestion is only reduced when you remove vehicles from the road. Not divert them to the next road, you know.
Furlong says many countries continue trying to solve traffic by expanding road networks, but evidence from cities around the world suggests that strategy has limits. Instead, he argues that governments need to make public transportation more attractive, reliable, and efficient. One audience member from Jamaica raised a concern familiar across the Caribbean that many people see public transport as something for lower income groups rather than a practical alternative to driving. Furlong's response was blunt.
Until you make public transport sexy, you're not going to enjoy it.
He says improving scheduling, reliability, safety, and convenience will be critical if governments want more people to leave their cars at home. The Caribbean Development Bank agrees. Its officials say the solution isn't simply building more roads. Instead, countries need a combination of better public transportation, smarter traffic management, improved urban planning, stronger data collection, and policies that reduce the number of single occupancy vehicles on the road. Because every hour spent sitting in traffic is an hour that workers aren't producing, businesses aren't growing, and economies aren't moving forward. And that's the bottom line. So, how much time do you lose in traffic every week? And would you be willing to give up driving if public transportation became faster, safer, and more reliable? Let me know in the comments. Click subscribe for money news like this straight to your inbox. Let's get this money.
Let's get this money.
Listen, we are in real trouble in Trinidad and Tobago, you know. I'm back again with this NCAA issue because I'm just looking at these comments. And you know, people more upset with the man for squealing, assuming that it's true, than the man who paid for the job to be done. That is just unbelievable. We are getting so numb to doing the wrong things in this society that it is becoming the norm. So it is the norm to lie and steal and thief. That's what's becoming normal in our society, you know. When you is a big time bandit, that is the norm. And people see that as a way of life. We are in real trouble because it appears to me like the majority of citizens feel this way. And when you have the majority who could be in sync with wrongdoing, this place could never improve. We go into the dogs. We go into the dogs because when you look at, even we're talking standards here now, and the way we should behave as leaders and that kind of stuff, everything is deteriorating. The fabric of society is deteriorating in front of our eyes. We are in real trouble. If you all can't see that the wrongdoer was the one who paid for the crime, the alleged crime to be committed. Shame on some of you.
Today we have Aga catch in the act. AGC scraps $3.4 billion housing procurement programs. Sole was giving out contracts without tender. Sole was just giving who all they wanted to give, right? All the partner and them were gone. Then now people ask still questions and things, and all they find, nah, something wrong. The OPR, the Office of Procurement Regulation now, decide, let me open my investigation into this seemingly inconspicuous $3.4 billion. That's all it was given out in contracts for housing. So instead of trusting the process like all they keep telling we to do with other situations, we can go talk about that. All they keep telling we trust the process. If we should trust the process, why all they didn't trust the process and let the OPR finish the investigation? I just act. I get catching the act. And I say, well, hey, don't investigate me no more. I stop. Because if I catch a man leaving the grocery with a trolley full of groceries that he did not pay for, I'm not going to give him a medal for honesty. You get catch on some folly, and then you say, well, hey, don't worry now, I stop. Canceling this program ain't change the fact that you try to do what you try to do. You know? All these spin doctors and mental gymnasts that go in and come out and try and change up this story, try again. Because all they get catch, all they come out and defend it, and now all they cancel it. If nothing wrong, why they cancel it? Answer that question, and I go hush. Answer that one question, and I go hush. The declaration giving them notice that we are aware they are fraud and the government of Trinidad and Tobago must disband, come off our lands, right? Disband the government. There are chiefs already here waiting to take back up the indigenous position, the organic positions, and carry the land back to its original state. Show me, I don't care who's the worst criminal, right? I don't care what side they're from. They are criminal directly because of the fraud and the stealing of organic people's land and setting up a corporation here and creating a rat race and telling people wealth is what they say it is and actually not what natural wealth is, right? So Trinidad and Tobago, the corporation, is the reason for the crime. I don't care, all the crimes, and it is evident. Had we been living indigenous, had we had no rat race to compete in, right, we'd have been living indigenous, bartering food, nobody wouldn't run nobody down, because one person in this system that they call democracy, demon crazy, right, they have one person holding all the wealth, right, while some people can eat tomorrow, right, and most of the people that they do this to is the people who look like me and you, who actually are indigenous and own these land that these people feeding the fat offer, right, and operating like greedy capitalists. So they love this system. This system is over. It's crashed. The government is non-existent. Trinidad and Tobago Corporation is non-existent as of its official since the 7th of this year, 7th of February this year, 2022. So yes, the British Empire and the Queen also was involved. The so-called Queen was involved in that slave trade. But what is more important to note, they were also involved in stealing the indigenous lands for the people who were already here, like my ancestors, right? They stole those lands from these people here, set up a corporation here. We had treaties with them. They continue to violate the treaties to this day, right? So now we want them off the land. There's some things you need to know about Elizabeth II if you didn't know before. Elizabeth II, apart from the common theme that she was involved in the slave trade, as a matter of fact, the British Empire had a big part to play in that. But what is noteworthy also is that she's a fraud, right? It has been proven that she is a fraud. The documents are out there. It's been public notice since 2011, right? And there's not one case proven that. I think it's about two. In 2013, the common law court issued a warrant for her arrest, right? A one-year warrant for her arrest. So it is important to note that Elizabeth II is a fraud, right? So as it pertains to this island and the history of this island in terms of the 1976 Trinidad Act enacted by her, all those things are fraud. That act was voided on the 7th of February this year by me, right? Up to now it hasn't been challenged. They cannot challenge it. They can't rebut it point for point because it's quite impossible to do. Right? Everything stated in that declaration is facts, and it was notarized by one of their own. As a direct relation to this fraud, right? We have things like crime, plague in our lands, domestic violence. All these things are a direct effect of the fraud that was bargained between Elizabeth and the corporation setting up on this land, right? And your so-called founding father was responsible for they negotiating that corporation setting up on our lands, right? And this is why now we have this crime, because we was living indigenous. We had no want for nothing. We had everything that we had before. And they introduced this corporation called Trinidad and Tobago, this business deal with Elizabeth II, right? Take people out of the natural way of living, turn everything into a rat race, and tell you living like this is being poor, rubbish. I have food here, we barter from here straight to the chiefs them in South. Now we are aware they are fraud, and the government of Trinidad and Tobago must disband, come off our lands, right? Disband the government. There are chiefs already here waiting to take back up the indigenous position, the organic positions, and carry the land back to its original state. It will help with the climate, it will help with everything else. You understand? So this is noteworthy about the Queen, as we're touching on that subject about the Queen. She is a fraud. I'm not saying that. This is a proven case. You'd see the evidence. We have the docket file for her arrest warrants. All those type of things is real.
So people need to understand this. You understand how it pertains to you. The court that operates here, the highest court of appeal that operates here is the Privy Council. That is not on this island. That is in England. Right? And so then, how they calling themselves independent, this corporation called Trinidad and Tobago, how they calling themselves independent when they are running under Elizabethan law? You follow? So, it's a whole fraudulent system. They're operating under fraud, right? And this is the call to come off. Your time is up. We don't want you here no more. We don't want your system here no more. The lands is the organic indigenous people's land. And we're here taking it back. Move out our way and let us continue to do our stuff. So as it pertains to once the government is disbanded and indigenous people start back to control the lands, we are already functioning. So I know that will be a question on people's minds. Well, hey, he calling for the disbanding of the government. What kind of crazy thing is that? So what will happen? Listen, indigenous people, as a matter of fact, all styles of government on the planet was patterned after the 7 Iroquois nations. We started that style of governance, and they copied it and turned it into this rat race, capitalist mentality that we have here today.
Trinidad and Tobago morning. Now come across this video and let the truth be told. Hey, you people in this place, all you was really hoodwinked and scammed and lied to and betrayed, and all you suck up all the old talk and propaganda. Watch this video.
Yeah, NCW, here what is going on. You remember last year, right, coming up to election time, you had reached out to me and tell me you want a stage like a rob before like you get robbed, right? You remember you give me $5,000 cash, right? And me and 2 other men, right, make it look like we take your van and we ditch it, right? NCW is a fraud. He's a liar. And here what is going on. I want to let the public know that who you really is, right? You remember you pay me 5,000 cash, right? And me and 3 men make it, we make it look like you get robbed, we take your van, eh? You remember that? Okay.
I mean, it's not actually going to fix lawlessness, right? It's just creating more room for corruption. When you send the fines that high, all that you're encouraging is people to pay bribes to the officers. That's what you're doing. So it's not lawlessness. You're creating opportunity. You're creating significant motive. You are creating motive for corruption. People are going to be highly motivated to pay bribes. The problem, of course, was never the fines were never too low. The problem was the lack of enforcement, right? I mean, if the police had enforced the original fines the same way as they're doing this set, you would have accomplished everything you needed to accomplish. You didn't need to raise the fines. You did not need to raise the fines. You needed more enforcement. But you can't actually fix the fundamentals of what's wrong with the country because you're not willing to do what's required to actually fix the fundamentals. So we get 10,000 new rules, 10,000 new regulations, and a convoluted 3-day system. Yeah, well, at least we're going to be good, lawful citizens now. You all have a good day.
My good people of Trinidad and Tobago, what else do I have for you except to tell you a very big thank you, man. You people support us so much. When I say us, it's all of us watching here. And I thank you so much. So in the land of Trinidad and Tobago, in the soil of Trinidad and Tobago, there was a very violent, it was a very violent week in some way. I know you think that this particular video is about crime. No, you are missing the point. Today, I want us to connect the dots. between the halls of parliament, the police headquarters, and the fear that the Trinis or Trinidadians are feeling while on the ground. And I want to expose the truth behind all this chaos. So, this is the truth behind the chaos. Because, right now, the biggest question is not only about who committed the crime. The bigger question as we speak is all about why does this keep happening? Why is it that ordinary people of Trinidad and Tobago feel trapped? Why is it that the trust between the people and the police and the institutions keep widening or falling? And why is it that it feels like the people are always carrying the weight of the problems that they did not create? So I want us to look beyond the headlines that has been happening. I want us to look at the bigger picture. And I can tell you that in Trinidad and Tobago, every week, the good island of Trinidad and Tobago wakes up to another headline, another shooting, another community in fear, another family demanding answers. And recently, violence did not happen in isolation. It happened in an environment where citizens already feel extremely frustrated. Frustrated by crime, frustrated by slow justice system, frustrated by the feeling that something is broken. And this is where the conversation changes everything, my good people. So, now because violence is most of the time, the final results are not the beginning, you will find that the society does not suddenly become unstable like overnight. No. We normally have these warning signs: fear, mistrust, anger, loss of confidence, and many people in the good island of Trinidad believe that they are seeing these warnings and the signs as we speak. Now, I want us to talk about the policing crisis in Trinidad and Tobago, because now the Trinidad and Tobago Police, TTPS, has actually faced so many years of criticism already. The good people of the good island of Trinidad and Tobago have questioned response time by the TTPS. They have questioned how these investigations are being done. They have questioned whether the system can keep them safe, the same systems that they are supposed to trust. And you see, when ordinary people in any country lose confidence in law enforcement, then that would mean that something very dangerous is definitely happening. And that will mean that the gap will widen or will kind of appear. There will be a power vacuum in between. And, in that particular process, crime goes up, criminal networks grow. And that is because, not that these communities really want this chaos, but because of the weak systems that has created that opportunity. You see, public trust is not a small issue. Trust is the foundation of everything, even at home, with friendship and everybody. Without trust, every police statement becomes a debate, question, a story. Every operation becomes questioned. Every failure will create more hunger, I know you didn't know that. So if you talk about politics on the other hand, now because crime does not exist separately from government decisions, budgets, they do matter in each and every government. Policies, they do matter. Leadership matters. Every debate in the parliament will at the end of the day reach to the people, and where the people are in the ground, right? So if a decision is made in the government, it will definitely affect how communities will actually have to work. And of course, if the same government fails to invest, fails to, come up with the reforms, and if there is any failure in addressing social issues, all of this will have consequences. And the good people of Trinidad and Tobago will ask, are our leaders really creating or solving problems in our communities, in our country? Are they preventing? Those are some of the questions that are at the heart of everybody. So corruption is also something else that is not only affecting the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago. Across the entire world, corruption is most of the time discussed as a major threat to most institutions, not just public, but also private. Because you see, when audit reports comes out and investigations have been done in many countries of the world, misuse of public resources normally weakens services. I told you already, not only in government or public institutions, but also in private. So when public systems become weaker, the people, it's the people who feel it first. And they'll talk, they'll argue, and they'll really want to understand, make it make sense. So problems normally exist, especially at the top. But again, they'll appear at the bottom. If resources are wasted, if accountability is weak, if the institutions lose credibility, guess who pays the price? It's the people, the ordinary people. Not just financially, but also socially, Guys, did you know that? So, you see how that cycle goes in, or goes like. Crime will increase, people will demand for actions, the government or the relevant authorities will respond. But then if these issues remain unresolved, the cycle will continue, and there'll be fear, there will be trust issues, and there'll be division, anger. This is why many people are simply saying in Trinidad and Tobago that they need more police. Okay, probably they could not be enough, but security does matter in our land, in our beautiful island. And as much as it does matter, then the government should also be in a position to prevent all these issues. Give people better education, give Trinis opportunities, accountability, strong institutions, and a justice system that the good people of TNT do believe in. So across the entire island of Trinidad and Tobago, many people are asking one question: what is really happening to our beautiful country, the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago? They are not only asking about these criminal activities, they are asking about leadership, they are asking about the systems that exist in Trinidad and Tobago. They are asking, why does it feel like the ordinary people are always the ones suffering? That's something very big, in case you didn't know. Guys, kindly, I want you to go in the comment section below and tell us, what do you think is the solution? You know, at the end of the day, it can not only be more arrests, it can't not only be stronger speeches. You know, people want real change, and real change means rebuilding the trust that is now between the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, the police, the institutions, between communities and leaders, between the people and the community and the institutions that are meant to serve them. Because you see, most of these countries, or probably T and T, is not going to be fixed only when crime goes down. Accountability is fixed when people already believe that tomorrow can be better than today. So the chaos that we see as a warning sign in Trinidad and Tobago is, a warning that something deeper needs attention. We need to ask ourselves like this one question: will Trinidad and Tobago only respond to the next crisis, or will it finally confront the deeper problems creating these particular criminal activities? Let me know, guys, in the comment section. Thank you so much for being of great help and support here. I don't take it for granted. I'll see you in the next video, guys.